Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.
Montana, Wyoming, all really windy today. Alex, remember earlier this month we were talking about having, this be sort of a wind-themed month because it's one of the windiest months of the year. It's not the windiest. I don't know how it isn't, Alex. You know, when you take a look at some of these days that we've had, so windy, right? Well, again, today it's going to be windy, and also in the southern plains, things start ramping up. So let's look at that, because right now, not a big deal in terms of winds. We've got, light winds, 10, 15 miles per hour, all coming from the south. That wind direction is so key, right? So this is going to bring up not just the warmer air, but a little more moisture. So we're going to get more moisture back here across the southern plains. You're already seeing that with dew points back to about 60 in Dallas, into the 60s in San Antonio. However, back across New Mexico and western Texas, where we were hitting record high temperatures yesterday, it's not just dry, it's hot. We've got the lower dew points, and we've got temps out there, dew point temps out there that are in the teens and 20s. So now we have another concern. We've got wind and we've got dry air. That's going to increase the fire threat, and there is a critical fire risk area today from parts of New Mexico just south of Santa Fe and over into the Texas Panhandle, including just south of Amarillo, in between there and Lubbock. Look at the winds today. So we're going to have those strong southerly winds here out in the plains. That'll be a moist air kind of wind. You don't worry about the fire risk for that. You have other issues, right? But then watch these winds back here across portions of New Mexico and into the Texas Panhandle, gusting 15 to 20 miles per hour. It could gust stronger too, so watching for that. But the wind itself is going to be a factor. This is going to be affecting driving, high-profile vehicles. That south wind is going to be a crosswind for all of our east-west highways, 40, 20. You'll be affected by that. And the red flag warning is up as well. And that does include parts of I-40 in New Mexico and then running over into the Texas Panhandle. Alex, you will see what happened. Look at this. Covered in the Northwest, covered in wind reports. We had more than 1,100 reports of damaging winds, significant wind speeds up over hurricane force. Banner, Wyoming coming in at 95 miles per hour. Story, Wyoming, 92. Cutbank, 87. Number of spots actually setting records for their peak, or one of their top peak wind gusts in the month of November. It was very windy. We had tractor trailers getting blown over. We had shingles off of roofs, property damage. It really was a true mess. And now today we still have some high wind warnings up in North Dakota and South Dakota, wind advisories too in the lighter purple. The winds won't be as strong as we saw yesterday, but they'll still be gusting at times 30 to 40, maybe up to 50 miles per hour. Here's where they're going to be strongest, starting the day in North Dakota and then extending southward through today. So the forecast is for winds in Pierre, South Dakota, 40, 50 miles per hour. It's going to be a wind coming in from the western northwest here, and that'll be somewhat of a crosswind on our east-west interstates. Watching that, honestly, all the roads will be impacted by a wind direction like that. Fargo will feel it too, 30, 35 miles per hour. So not as damaging as what we saw yesterday in Montana and Wyoming, but definitely something you'll notice out there, and definitely will blow those leaves around here out of your yard, or maybe out of a neighbor's yard into your yard. Southern Plains, we dealt with a lot of wind yesterday. New Mexico, Colorado, the fire around Estes Park, that continues to be a concern today, and the wind was a big factor in that. Today we've got some stronger winds across the western Texas area into the Panhandle, up into western Oklahoma. Winds right now gusting to about 25 miles per hour. That could increase through today as well, and it is a dry wind, so that is of course a concern for the fire.
Weird. Times Square, no one in it.
Same thing with the parade too, right? Last year there was no crowd. It's
just not the same.
The people do make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you plan to be out in the elements this holiday, you may hear someone say, don't go outside without a coat. You'll catch a cold.
Yeah.
But, that's not exactly right.
Yeah, our grandmother said that, right? But, it might not be right, but it might not be wrong either. The Brainstorm team explains why winter weather makes it easier to steer. There's a chance of a big storm, but there's definitely not a guarantee.
Yeah, exactly. No guarantees for us, at least right now, but something to just keep in the back of your mind that we may have to deal with here as we head into through the weekend and through early portions of next week. All right, here's the sort of setup here for us. This is basically looking at this mid part of the week, and what we'll notice here is a little bit more of a dip in the jet stream starting to take shape here for us by the time we get to Sunday. And that's going to be the impetus of what we have to deal with.
So the Sunday before Thanksgiving, a lot of cold air up there around Hudson Bay, so some of that does come down. That's your temperature side of things. But more importantly, what are we going to be dealing with in terms of weather? Rain or snow. We've got some rain with the front heading east, and I think the Sunday, Monday time frame, we feel good about that forecast.
Yes. Now, when we get beyond that time frame, that's where things get a little bit more iffy. Do we see an area of low pressure develop here off the coast? And where is it in relation to the coast? How powerful could it get? All questions that are up in the air.
Yeah, and the models have been switching back and forth, and, you know, they've been disagreeing with each other, all of it. You take a look at the European model right now. It does have some heavy precip into northern parts of Maine, but you compare that to the GFS, you can see how it kind of hangs back a little bit. Yeah, so more of Maine and more of New England, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's sort of the rainfall forecast. How about we get into the snow? Because that's what a lot of folks would want to know about. Well, the European model forecast, it has some light snow showing up around the Great Lakes. GFS America model?
A lot more, yeah. They're very different. So that's why we know there's uncertainty in this forecast here. And look, the pattern, the storm system hasn't even come in yet, so it's really too early to call it yet in terms of how it's going to play out. So just be ready for changes to that forecast.
Right now. The
Northwest in Washington and Oregon, and then spread all across the northern Rockies. And we saw wind, you know, not just in a few spots, and not just in the highest spots or on the coast. It was everywhere. This cyclone is the reason why. Look how it's all wound up right here. This is low pressure. We're watching that up into Canada, and the winds spread all across the west as it went. And we saw more than 1,100 reports of strong winds here. The entire region, the entire state of Montana, many locations actually setting some records, whether it came to an all-time average daily wind record for November or just the peak, one of the peak November records for the month. Cut Bank was one of the spots we saw really strong winds, 87 miles per hour. Banner, Wyoming, 95 mile per hour winds. And this, you can see how widespread it was. Now, today's wind advisories and high wind warnings are in North and South Dakota, and it's still going to be windy, but not like yesterday. We're not talking about 97 or 95 mile per hour winds or 87 mile per hour winds, but it will be strong enough to have some impact. And so watching the interstates for travel here with that west-northwest wind, that'll be more of a crosswind for the north-south interstates here, but really to some extent affecting all of us. Winds 35 to 40 miles per hour. Pierre, South Dakota has 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. That wind is going to take all your leaves if you haven't raked them yet and move them somewhere else. Or if you have raked, maybe move someone else's leaves in your yard. So get ready for that swirling dervish out there today. It continues through the day into the overnight. Tomorrow, finally, you see things start to calm down a bit, and winds are light throughout the afternoon right across the zone. Also, it's been windy across the southern plains. This is where we've had some wind and heat. And yesterday, it was bringing in a concern for the elevated fire risk. We'll keep an eye on that today. It's a different wind direction, though. Now it's coming from the north. Yesterday, it was from the south. So we've got a north wind in Oklahoma City, winds gusting to 30 miles per hour, 32 actually. Lubbock, we've got winds gusting to 35 miles per hour. That's bringing in the temperature changes, the drier air, those lower dew points, but also, again, bringing, have to be always concerned about a fire risk when it's dry, and we have wind like this, and it's been dry lately across the zone. Dallas, winds are going to gust anywhere from 30 to 35 miles per hour. This is all behind that front, and that'll extend as we get into part of the day on Thursday, then calming down a bit into the evening, although it does look like by Thursday night